What is up, designer friends? I have asked you over on Instagram to shoot me your logos so that I can go ahead and try to fix them and teach you something along the way. And I've got this logo from my friend Leonard, who is a photographer. So let's check out this logo and see how we can improve it or how I would think about this. Now, I would start off by saying this is not a bad logo, right? What we're looking for in a logo is something that is simple and memorable and that can set you apart and that is probably appropriate for your business. And so he is this kind of a symbol that also looks like C, all right, which is kind of classic, using the first letter. So this is crafted media. We're using a C, and it looks creative, I guess, because it's kind of like splashy, like two little dots. All right, it's not bad. It looks okay. There's two things here that I think can be improved. Now, number one is that this little shape right here is very water droppy, right? It's circular, it's kind of like very organic, and the font that we have here working with it is very kind of modern, sharp, sans serif font. If you look at the C, right, so this one is rounded and this one is kind of pretty chopped and, and very sharp. And I think that this combination between this very organic roundy thing and this very kind of like hardcore font is not working. It creates kind of a mix that doesn't mesh. So I think I would try to fix that. And then also kind of the combination between the typography and the mark itself. I like the idea of the mark. I also like the font choice. So let's try to see how we can make them fit together better. Now, I'm going to copy this here to the side so that I can start working with it. And I'm working in Illustrator, but you can do this on any software. Now, this gradient, when I design logos, I always start with black and white just to see that the shapes work. We can always add on this gradient thing, which is kind of nice. I like it, but I don't know if we need it. So I'm starting to look at this as a black. I just want to look at the shapes, right? So let me try to recreate this shape, but actually, let's try to recreate it from the C that we've got here going on. So I like this C. I like that it's sharp, and I would try to recreate the same effect that we have here, but with the actual C so that they would work together. So let's see what we have. We've got this round kind of like white thing. So maybe let's take a circle and let's try to draw some kind of a circle just to have the line that goes right here. And let me just remove the fill on this and add kind of a white stroke just to mimic how this cut would be. And I can check whether I want this to be very thin or thicker, maybe something around 1.5 points. And I can play around. First of all, let's delete this part of the circle because we don't need this. But now we can play around and see this shape. So it starts looking pretty similar, but you can see this is sharper and it looks more in line with this. Maybe make it a tiny bit thicker, maybe 1.7. Play around with, move it a little bit so it's not cutting the bottom part of the C too much. Let's zoom in on this. Let's delete here this part here so that it does not cut our C from the top. And one thing is that it's not rounding out this area here. You can see of the C, it's cornery. We'll have to smooth this thing out. But overall, I think overall this looks good. I can play around with this to see if I want, but I think I want the shapes to be balanced. So right now the top is bigger than the bottom, and if I change this, like this, it makes the bottom higher. So now I think the shapes are kind of equal and it looks pretty good. So the next step is I want to extend this line, which is kind of just like an outline right now. So I'm going to go Object Expand. And now we have this actually as a white shape. And now I'm going to subtract that white shape from the C. So using the Pathfinder tool, bam. Now we can see it's just one shape, right? I can see the outlines of how this looks. Now the only thing I want to fix here, as I said, is this. I don't like how this corner, I think it's a little bit too sharp. and I think we can smooth that. Let's see what's the point structure here. So we've got 1 point over here and 1 point over here and also 1 point over here. Let's try to remove some of these points, and we can try to go ahead and make it smoother like this. Now we have to, now if I want it to be super accurate, of course I can, you know, put a circle or something below just to see that I'm smoothing it out correctly. But I think I'm just gonna eyeball it right now and just try to make it smoother. And yeah, now I think still looks a little bit bulgy. So maybe I'm gonna take this a little bit here. Let's see. Okay. So this feels better to me. Now, one thing that you can see here is that the corners are rounded, and here my corners are sharp. Now, again, because I like the sharpness of this thing, I think I'm going to keep it sharp. So, okay, now we've got, I feel like this is a better C than what we had before. So these work together. But as I said, I also think that the composition here doesn't work very well, or it can be improved. So let's give it a try. I'm always, note how I'm working in Illustrator. I'm always creating duplicates. So I have breadcrumbs to see my thinking and my process, and I can always backtrack. Or I can always compare multiple options, right, to see which one I like best. So one thing I would try is, let's make this C smaller so that it's aligned. So now this is kind of like boxed. The top is aligned with this and this. This already, I think this is better. Let's try something else. Maybe let's try something like a centered composition. So let's make sure this is grouped and this is grouped, and let's center them and maybe make this bigger, maybe make these media smaller. So now we've got kind of like a nicer hierarchy. This is also not bad. I don't know how these media, maybe on smaller sizes, maybe this media won't be super readable. One more thing that I would try is I would try a composition where maybe the C is in the middle and then we have crafted, but I'm not going to do crafted media in light because this is way off balance. So let me try to find a font that is, I'm not sure what font Leonard has used. But I guess Avenir is pretty close. So let's do media. That looks pretty close. So let's try to make it the same size. And let's see how that looks. So yeah, media is still shorter than crafted, so it's still off balanced. So this is not really a good option. Now, one more thing I'd try to check is what happens. Yeah, what happens if I actually use this C instead of the C that we have here? So let's see how we just make a word mark out of it. So let's say we make this bigger and we make this a little bit smaller, so that we can just use it as a C. This is way more simplified. Simplified is more, I guess. So it is simplified a little bit. I think this also works. It's kind of minimal, so maybe, but I actually like word marks where it's a custom font. So maybe if I would go with this, maybe I would add a little bit more cuts to the other letters, and then we have some custom font, and then maybe really we can do something like this, like crafted media like this. So this is another option that we have here. The last option that I want to test out is, how about, let's make a duplicate of this. How about we box in the symbol in kind of, let's do a square. Let's do a square that is aligning to this, and put the C inside in white. So let's put it out like this. Now I like this because for two reasons. One, let's just make sure that it's circle. It's, first of all, it makes everything a little bit more blocked, right? Because it's the top aligns to the top and the bottom aligns to the bottom. But also, you know, this is a media company. He is a photographer. So here we can actually look at the rectangular as the media. Maybe the media is the photograph or the social media post or the video or whatever it is. We have, besides the C, we have the media. So let's say it might be like, if you're talking about this conceptually, this is like the photograph and he captured this special thing in his frame or something like this. And I like this conceptually. I also think it makes it stronger. I'm going to make one more experiment or thing here, which is, let's try to make this a circle. So let's try it out this way and try it out with a circle. Now, I definitely think that the rectangular works so much better. Okay, so looking at this, and of course, by the way, it's just a real world project. If I'm doing this for a client, I would experiment. The same thing I did here, I would go tens and perhaps sometimes hundreds of different variations. I'll try different font sizes. I'll try to, you know, play around with each of these elements. But for the very quick iteration that we're doing right now, I think I'm looking at this versus the original that we have here. Looking at these here, I definitely think that this version is stronger, is more coherent in the style of the type and the symbol. The block is stronger and it just feels both more balanced and more bold and powerful. So that would be my suggestion to you, Leonard. And if you all want to learn more about my logo process and in general the full process of branding, we've got more resources for you below this video. So make sure you check them out, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.